move forward.
Okay.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. Today, we've got a great topic for everyone. It's holistic self-care strategies brought to you by Lifestyle Beautiful. And our expert who will be speaking with us today is Nina Mack. In a moment, I'm going to introduce Nina, but I'll tell you a little bit about Lifestyle Beautiful first. So I am Megan Moore, the founder and CEO of Lifestyle Beautiful. And I started this organization because I was a frustrated HR customer looking for a solution that incorporated well-being in the workplace and well-being for individuals beyond the typical employee assistance program, the typical wellness program. And so with Lifestyle Beautiful, we really mix coaching with our strategies for people to thrive and have well-being. So without further ado, I will introduce Nina Mack. She is one of our experts. She's actually one of our primary health and life coaches here. And she has an impressive background. Nina has a master's in health and wellness coaching, and she is a national board certified health and wellness coach and mindset coach. There are so many other certifications that you have, Nina, that I can't list them all. But there's a lot of work that you have also in the DEI space. And that is something that we see as one and the same at Lifestyle Beautiful. We believe well-being and diversity, equity, and inclusion is interchangeable and the same. So as an experienced community builder, and Nina is a lifelong student, she's well-versed in various healing traditions, and she's just very passionate about partnering with others to transform their lives. And so Nina, why don't you go ahead and get started and tell us anything else you wanted to add about yourself today?
Oh, thank you so much, Megan. That was wonderful. I don't think I would add anything. I'm just really happy to be here. And again, I really feel like health and wellness is a right for each and every one of us. So anything that I can do to just support folks wherever they are, I'm very, very happy to do that. And I'm glad that you mentioned I am a lifelong learner of various healing traditions, mindfulness, yoga, a lot of different modalities. Before we start, I just would like all of us that are present, please just take a breath. Let's just take a breath together. I need one more. We're gonna do one more. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for those that chose to do that with me. It's something that I often do before coaching sessions just to ground myself and just reset. I like to remind clients that it's really important just to reset themselves. I know that we all have busy days. It's that time of year. We're getting ready for the holidays. Seasons are changing. The kids are back in school. If you're in the US, we have midterm elections a lot of places tomorrow. So there's a lot happening. So I think this is really timely. And I really hope that this presentation, can just kind of help you wherever you are today. Okay. So let's get started. So again, today I'm going to be talking about holistic self-care strategies during times of stress and transition. Okay, so during times of stress and transition, many of us neglect our self-care and the healthy habits that contribute to our overall sense of wellness. So I'm really talking about, in addition to the everyday stress that all of us experience in our personal lives, we're still dealing with the effects of a global pandemic, challenging economic conditions, individual and collective traumas. I mentioned midterm elections, which can be very stressful for a lot of us, and so many other things that are just happening in our world on a personal and collective level. So before we really dive in, I would like you to just kind of, I'm going to read through each point on this screen. And I just want you to think, how many of these thoughts sound familiar to you? So just take a quick poll to yourself and think, if any of these applied, you just give yourself a point. Okay. So how many of these thoughts sound familiar to you? I'm too busy to meal prep. I'll get back to the gym once things settle at work. Once my kids go back to school, then I'll refocus on myself. Now, and I'll say for that one, that can be when the kids go back after summer vacation, after a holiday break. A lot of kids have, they have different days off, even in the coming weeks. How many times do you say, well, once I get them back into their rhythm, then I'll get back to me. I'll plan this fun activity once I figured out XYZ. That could be a work obligation, that could be a family obligation. What about there's no time for relaxation? I just have too much on my plate. This one resonates with a lot of folks that I work with. It's selfish for me to prioritize myself when my people need me. And that could be whoever your people are, right? That could be your partner, your spouse, your kids, family, friends, coworkers, your employees if you manage folks. How about this one? Self-care is for people without responsibilities and obligations. Self-care is a luxury. Or what I said before, there's just too much happening in the world. I can't be bothered with self-care. So I just want to give you a second just to go through each of these again and see how many of these apply to you. Maybe in the last 30 days or so, how many times have you had a thought similar to any of those that I've listed here? Okay, awesome. So, as you know, life is constantly moving and changing, and all too often, that perfect time never comes despite our best intentions. The truth is, something will always come up that gets in the way of self care. A lot of us tend to wait until the perfect times. We'll say, okay, once I take that vacation, once I retire, once it's the weekend. But think about all of those missed opportunities throughout your week, throughout your month, throughout the year that you can really focus on yourself. So, really, the meat of what I'm going to talk about today is that it's really during these times of stress and transition, during those times where we don't feel like we have time, we just feel like there's too much going on, there's too much on our plate. Those are the times that we really need to keep up with our self care habits to help us move through life's ups and downs. Additionally, taking care of ourselves helps us not only to better show up for ourselves, but for others in our lives. So if you're like me, if you're one of those folks that tends to put other folks before yourself and say, oh, but I have my partner or my kids or my friends, whoever else is in your life, um, I want you to also remember that not only do you deserve to take care of yourself, and not only do you need to take care of yourself just because of who you are, but it's actually really essential for you to show up fully in all the different ways that you want to show up in your life. So instead of waiting for things to settle, because do they ever settle? Why not explore what can be done in this moment, right now, no matter how stressed, overextended, or overwhelmed you might feel? So, and I know there's a lot on this screen. I'm just want to talk to you for a bit. So before we really get into it, I want to talk about self-care. Um, Quick poll, and people can put it in the chat or just think to yourself, what comes to mind when you hear the word self-care? So, um, what I find is that a lot of us, when we think about self-care, we're thinking about these self-indulgent, luxurious things. We're thinking about bubble baths, desserts, which I absolutely love, taking a personal day from work. Um, each of these things can certainly contribute to a person's self-care, but self-care is actually highly personal and it can shift over time. So for example, what you might consider self-care right now in this season of your life might change. Heck, it might change next week, it might change in a few months. It might look different tomorrow, and it shifts according to your needs as your needs shift. So, the National Institute of Mental Health actually defines self care as taking the time to do things that help you live well and improve both your physical health and mental health. So, this is a point I really want to drill down on a little bit. So, again, self care is not a one size fits all. Self care by taking a bubble bath, that might not work for everyone. You might not be a bath person. What one person might find relaxing might be stressful to you. It might not really do much for you. So it's really about figuring out what's going to work for you at any particular point in time. And so that's what we're really going to talk about today. So before I really go a little bit deeper, I want to just kind of give you a holistic view of wellness. So research shows that wellness goes beyond just addressing our physical needs. Um, the focus of our talk today is holistic self-care, and that's really taking a whole person approach to self-care by addressing the multiple dimensions of wellness. And now, if you're familiar with Lifestyle Beautiful's work, you'll be familiar with the multiple dimensions of wellness that I'll get into a little bit later as well. So a lot of times, folks, when we think about our health and wellness, we think about self-care. A lot of times, we're just thinking about our physical needs. Sometimes people are thinking about mental health needs, but it really goes far beyond that. You think about your spiritual health, your emotional health, your intellectual health, of course, your physical health, social health, environmental, financial, all of these different aspects of a person's life really contribute to their sense of health and wellness. So, what are the benefits of self-care? There've been a lot of studies that have really looked at this, and so one of the main benefits are better stress management, decreased risk of illness, increased energy, increased life satisfaction, and higher levels of resilience. So if you really think about it, incorporating small acts of self-care in your daily routine can really add up to have a big impact. One thing I want to point out here is, again, so many folks, I think, tend to think about self-care as this indulgent thing, like I'll do it when I have time, I'll do it when I have some extra money, I'll do it around the holidays. Um, but there's really a lot of research that's coming out, and it's been coming out for years actually, about taking that time throughout your day really can improve a person's quality of life. It can decrease your risk of illness. So this is not something that's only reserved for certain people that have that we who we perceive to have more time and more resources. Anybody can practice self-care, wherever they are. So let's take a holistic view of your state of wellness using the self-care or wellness wheel. Has anyone seen a wheel like this before? This is one of my favorite tools. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of explain it. I think this is a really great tool. This is something that I personally use with clients, and a lot of folks have found a lot of value in really taking that holistic view of their wellness. So really what I want you to do, because I want this to be as interactive as possible, is I want you to look at the 8 categories and think briefly about what a satisfying life might look like for you in each area. So the categories we have are play and leisure, work and finances. I'm thinking personal relationships, so like friends and family, your significant other, spirituality and or community connection, personal growth. And personal growth, that could be maybe if you are pursuing activities outside of what you do, maybe 9 to 5, right? So maybe outside of school and work. What other kinds of things are you doing that contribute to personal growth? Rest and relaxation, home environment, and of course, exercise and movement and diet. So we really want you to just look at all of these different areas of your life and just spend a few minutes thinking about how much time and effort do you put into each area? How satisfied are you with the way you address each need in your life? How much pleasure do you get out of each? And so what I'll do, I'm actually going to share this out with you so you can work on this. This is something you can revisit. This is something you can work on later as well. There's no right or wrong answers. It's only an honest assessment. So now what I want you to do is draw a line across each segment that represents your satisfaction for each area and how successful you are in addressing those needs. So what you're going to do, you're going to imagine that the center of the wheel is 0 and the outer edge is 10. You're going to go through each section and choose a value between 0 and 10. 0 or 1 being very dissatisfied and 10 being fully satisfied. And then I want you to draw a line and write the score alongside. So let me show you an example. Okay, so if you look at my example, this is something I just came up with. And honestly, this might have been how I was feeling on the day that I did this. Or I think this is just an example I came up with. So for example, in the play and leisure area, on a scale of 0 to 10, if I rated it a 2, that's probably an area of my life I'm not feeling a lot of satisfaction. So I mark a 2, and then I work through each section. What you'll notice is it's very rare, especially when folks are doing this for the first time, that you see a constant circle or a constant wheel within a wheel. And I find that doing this activity can really help people understand how satisfied and how unsatisfied they're feeling in different areas of their life, perhaps what areas of their life they're spending more attention. And so one thing that we ask when we have people do the wellness wheel activity is it a bumpy ride? So for example, if you had to attach this wheel to a vehicle, would it go smoothly or not? Mine definitely wouldn't. It would be all over the place. So I just want you to try this. Open mind, non-judgmental. You don't have to share this with anybody. A few other tips: use the first number that pops into your head, not the number you think it should be. So if I'm being honest with myself and I say, okay, for exercise, movement, and diet, and I say, oh, I'm a health coach, right? I know what to do. That doesn't mean I'm always at a 10. I might be at a 5. That's okay. It's actually just giving me information so I know how I can make improvements. There are no right or wrong answers. So once you've done this, you'll get the new perimeter of your circle and just kind of get a snapshot right now about how you're feeling about your wellness and about your life. So one reason I like to do this activity with clients is because it's a tool they can come back to repeatedly. So for example, sometimes we'll use this tool at the beginning of a coaching relationship, and maybe a month or a couple months in, we'll do this again and see if they've seen any improvement. And a lot of times this can help folks decide what areas of life that they might want to focus on in order to improve their overall sense of health and well-being and happiness. Awesome. So thank you so much for being open to trying this with me. I think it could be very very beneficial and very insightful. It's always interesting for me to do as well. Always find something new. Okay, so I want to give you another tool to just help you tune in a little bit more into your specific needs as it comes to self-care. Hopefully, if you've done that activity, you'll have a little bit more insight into where you're feeling more fulfilled, maybe less fulfilled in your life. So which areas of my life leave me feeling unsatisfied? Addressing which area of my life would most impact my sense of wellness? And one thing I want to call out about this question is that when you do an activity like the wellness wheel, it can actually be very overwhelming, especially if you find that you're not feeling very satisfied in a lot of areas. So out of 8 areas, you might feel unsatisfied in 6 or 7 of them. It can be really overwhelming. You're like, wow, I'm really not happy. I'm really not feeling satisfied. What we find, and there's research that supports this, is that when folks figure out which area will help them make the biggest impact, that actually can have a positive ripple effect into other areas of their life. So one thing I like to do when I work with clients is help them really identify, of these several areas that you're not quite satisfied with, what will help you see and make the biggest impact. Another important question is, what would it take for me to see just a small improvement in this area? So this is another thing for my folks who can be like me. We're kind of perfectionists. We want to always be at a 10. That's usually not the case for folks. So the goal is not to get to a level of 10 of satisfaction. And if you're at a level 10, that's awesome. But if you're not, the goal is not necessarily to get to a level. a level 10, excuse me, but to find more opportunities to increase satisfaction. So, for example, if you're at a level 4 in the finances area, what would it take for you to move to a 5? And that could be different for everybody. We're talking about finances. That could be um, maybe saving more. That could be maybe doing some more research into investing or other ways to make money. So it's not going from, okay, 4 to 10 overnight. It takes time. Another question you could ask is, what is most needed in my life right now? I often like to, just like we did at the beginning of this, just invite folks to just take a deep breath and just ask themselves, what is most needed in my life right now? Odds are you already have the answer. Another question is, what habits sustain me? What is getting in the way of me practicing self-care? And lastly, what people or resources do I need to help me reach my goal? So hopefully as we go through these questions, you're getting an idea that once you really start to take a look at your self-care and a look at a holistic view of your wellness and how well you're taking care of yourself and how satisfied or unsatisfied you might be, um, some things might be coming up about, wow, these are some habits I might want to work on, or wow, I'm noticing these areas of my life are not quite fulfilling me the way I want them to. And really asking yourself, what's getting in the way of it? For some people, it's lack of planning, lack of resources, it's maybe not really paying attention to it. They could feel overstretched, overwhelmed. The purpose of this is just to get curious, not to get bogged down and, oh gosh, it's too much. Now what? Okay. So I just want to give you some examples. These are some of the insights that I've seen come out of doing these kinds of activities. So your answers to the questions might reveal insights and opportunities such as, you know what? When I spend more time in nature, I feel lighter and more peaceful. You might realize, wow, taking a few minutes to ground myself before my day begins actually sets me up for success. When I take time to do the things I enjoy, I feel less burdened by the things that I have to do. One thing that I see come up often is when folks think about who or what it might be getting in their way, sometimes they realize that part of it is themselves. Sometimes we take on more than we really need to and can actually ask for help. And sometimes the help might be actually delegating tasks in your life, whether it's to loved ones or the folks that you work with if possible. Other times it's realizing what is yours and what isn't yours to do. Sometimes the help can be finding someone to help keep you accountable with the changes that you're trying to make as well. Other insights that have come up are things like going on a walk in the evening with my partner actually helps me to, one, relieve stress, two, get exercise, and reconnect with my significant other. The thing that I really love about that insight is that it actually it hits a number of areas of our wheel, of our wellness wheel. So you're kind of filling up your tank a little bit, right? You're filling up a little bit of your tank in terms of your relationship with your significant other. You're doing something for your physical and mental health by getting exercise, relieving stress, which also impacts your physical and mental health as well. Another insight is if I take the time to regularly stock my kitchen with healthy, convenient foods, I'll be less likely to reach for something less nutritious. That's been a big one for me recently. It's not that I don't know what to eat, but sometimes I notice a difference on the weeks where I'm better in planning in terms of having healthy and convenient foods versus the weeks that I don't. So there's little tips and tricks that I've learned over the years that help me help to set myself up for success. Lastly, I might not be able to get to the gym as much as I'd like, but I do see opportunities to incorporate more movement into my days. This is another one I love to talk about with people because when it comes to physical activity, a lot of times we get really focused on the structure of it and think, okay, if I'm not going to the gym, I'm not doing it. But there's so many other ways that you can incorporate more physical movement and activity into your days. Um, so not just the gym, you may or may not be into structured classes like dance or yoga or Zumba, things like that. Um, but things like housework, walking your dog, walking around the block, doing things as you're able. So just to give you some ideas. So one thing I wanted to make sure to call out as we continue is there's so many different ways, right, that you can improve your levels of satisfaction. At Lifestyle Beautiful, these are the 5 pillars of wellness that we focus our work on. They're based on Duke University's healthy living pillars. And so as you can see, again, it's very holistic. It's a holistic approach that we take, and this is something that we work with our clients on. Okay, so again, as you can tell, I'm a list person. I'm about just getting all the information out there. So these are some ideas that I came up with, but I would really love to hear from you all about what works for you. I will briefly just kind of go through the list, and this is something I would love to make available to you afterwards. Um, because again, as we're talking about self-care, we're really talking about ways that we can incorporate self-care into our everyday lives. This is not just a one-off when we have time, maybe if I get to it. This is no, what can I do today? What can I do when I have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? So these are some things that have come up for different folks. Spending time in nature, getting adequate rest and sleep, engaging in physical exercise and movement, spending time with friends and family, learning something new just for fun, not because you're studying for something, not for work, just for fun. Keeping hydrated, engaging in healthy, balanced eating. This is one I love too. Spending some time in self reflection. So, really examining your spirituality, attitudes, and beliefs. Some folks like to just do this very casually, maybe while you're on a walk, while you're relaxing at home. Others like to actually pair this with maybe a journaling practice. Another practice that I like, um, I can't take credit for it, I didn't come up with it, but this is something that someone shared with me, which I thought was really great, was not just a gratitude practice, which a lot of us are familiar with, but an accomplishments practice as well. So, for example, you could decide maybe you want to do this in the morning or the evening at the end of your day, and list a number of things that you're grateful for and a number of things that you're proud of yourself for, no matter how big or small. For me, the gratitude piece, when I started doing that, that was transformational. And then once I started the accomplishments piece, that was even more eye-opening for me because there were so many things that I wasn't really recognizing that I was doing that was actually a big deal. And it doesn't have to be, oh, I got this degree, oh, I um, got a certification, or I achieved some lofty goal. Depending on the day, sometimes it's I got up and I reconnected with a friend today. That's something to be proud of. Why not? So the things big or small. Another wonderful self-care habit is listening to your body. Now, this there's so many different ways to do this. Mindfulness is a great way to just tune into your body, but really taking a moment to just sink in, which is one reason why I also ask and invite folks to do breath work with me, to just kind of get back into our bodies and just find out what's going on, right? Sometimes we have pain or different sensations happening. And so I would add listening to your body and then answering your body. So if your body's asking for something, if your body's saying, wow, I'm kind of thirsty right now, I'm uncomfortable. So shifting in your seat, doing what you have to do to make yourself 5 or 10% more comfortable. Another one, and as I'm going through these, I'm being reminded that a lot of folks, when I talk about these habits with people, um, these might not necessarily be things that you would think of as self-care, but this is why it's holistic self-care habits, right? Setting boundaries with yourself and others, being honest with yourself about your capacity and communicating your needs. So being honest with yourself when you need to take a break, when there's something that you need, when you need help, letting people know. I've talked about mindfulness a few different times. Um, Mindful movement, mindful eating, mindful breathing, practicing mindfulness meditation. I know we're going to have some other webinars that go a little bit deeper into mindfulness, but that's really another wonderful practice that you really can infuse throughout your day, bring it to whatever you're doing. And that can also help with the self-care and also help with the stress management. Creative outlets such as painting or dancing, journaling, I mentioned before. Again, asking for help. I'm very big on asking for help and communicating your needs. As awesome as you are, and I'm sure you are, you're not superwoman, superman, super person. So asking for help when you need it, delegating tasks, hiring help if it's affordable and accessible or accessible to you. So for example, do you need somebody to help clean your house? Do you need some support with childcare? Is there somebody that you can barter with to get the things that you need or hire? Mental health support, whether that's through a professional or through a friend, a faith group. And also, I would say looking for low or no cost ways to get the support that you need. There's so much available to us now, and I think sometimes it can be overwhelming, but there's so many resources out there to just help us get the support that we need to get through life. A few other self-care habits that we can practice are practicing generosity, laughing, listening to soothing music. So this was like a Nina brain dump of different habits that we could try. Would love to hear what's worked for you all. If anything resonates, if you would add anything or take anything away. Awesome. Okay. So that's what I have. I wanted to see if there were any questions or comments. I feel like I just threw a bunch of information at you, but just wanted to see if anybody has anything that they want to share. And my last slide here is about resources, which I'm very happy to share. That's where I got some of my information from, and it has some other resources if you want to do some more digging into this.
Thank you, Nina. A question I see is around the wellness wheel. If you could go back to that, I see a question around,
Absolutely.
sure, um, going into the wellness wheel activity.
Yes.
I'll try to paraphrase this or simplify this question for me.
Okay.
So sometimes, it could feel like you're moving through this wheel. And like you said, it's one day
Mm,
it could be different in one area than
yes.
another. What are some ways, maybe that you've even worked with clients or that you would recommend on finding
Hmm.
what I won't call it the answer, but I think your question is more like what should be the kind of standard. But I'll say, how do you
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
coach through that and finding the norm or what feels best as far as balance?
Oh, that's a really, really great question. Thank you for that. So I'm a big proponent on meeting people where they are. And so again, everyone is different, right? So what works for Megan might not work for me. And so part of my job as a coach is to help folks figure out what is satisfaction. Some people think I have to be at a 10 all the time. What I find is that's not feasible for a lot of people. And sometimes, as was mentioned, things can fluctuate. So what I like to do is I literally will go section by section and help. And one of the questions I might ask is, what does satisfaction look like in this area? So let's take like the personal growth one, for example. 7, right? 7 might be what my client looks as the area of satisfaction. I'm not just asking for the number. I want them to describe, like, what does that mean? Does that mean personal growth? Are you reading? Is that a new book every month? Are you connecting with people with similar interests? Are you learning a new language? You know what I mean? Like, I really want to get very specific because it could look totally different for somebody else. Someone else's idea of personal growth might be, I'm going to go try a new dance class, right? Or something else. So it really can depend. The other thing I would say, I love this question. The other thing I would say is that um, this can also shift according to what's going on in your life at the time. So and again, the focus of this talk today is about times of stress and during times of transition. So during those times, it can be really difficult for us to keep up with those habits that sustain us. So it might not be as feasible to be at a 10 at all the time, all the times, right? So maybe at a level 5 or a level 6, maybe that's a more realistic place to be. And so what I would do is say during this time, let's say it's like back to school time or we're getting ready for the holidays, which can be a time of stress for a lot of people. What does satisfaction look like? And knowing that in 2 months from now, it might be totally different. So, anyways, I think it's being flexible and adaptable to what's going on and meeting folks where they are and not getting so stuck in, oh, I'm only a 2, I have to be at a 10. No, how can we take you from a 2 to a 3? And then from there we can get you from a 3 to a 4 and continue on. But it's according to what the client feels would be the area that they most want to work on. I hope that answered
Yeah,
the question.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's great to hear. Just with your job as a coach, that must be amazing to get to work with
Oh,
people.
yeah.
That's really hard to stay in tune with, as an individual. Okay, how do I feel today?
Yeah.
How do I feel? Just having someone to reflect back, and guide
Yeah.
you through that. That must be great as a coach. I think we have
Absolutely.
our. I don't see any more questions, but I think Julie, our COO, is on the line. And so I want to give her just a chance to share a little bit more about Lifestyle Beautiful and what we do. And she is our rock and pillar for a lot of our operations and our business development and all of our plans to really create
Yes.
accessible well-being for people. So Julie, why don't you share a little bit more about yourself?
Hi, thank you so much, Megan. And wow, what an amazing, amazing piece of content and information, Nina. I want to commend you because you are just an example of the amazing individuals that we have at Lifestyle Beautiful that are committed to helping individuals live that lifestyle that allows them to feel so connected and allows them to feel like they're taking the steps, the doable steps to becoming the person that they envision, right? Because I think that all of us have the aspiration of bettering ourselves, but certainly we need a roadmap. And these slides in your presentation has given us a very good roadmap and a GPS system that we can follow. Lifestyle Beautiful really is here to help individuals be able to make that step forward because there's an African proverb that says that if we go alone, we can go fast. But if we go together, we can go farther. And excuse me if I'm not saying it 100% verbatim, but I just feel like this is exactly what Lifestyle Beautiful does, is that it partners with you so that you can go farther and then you can actually create the kind of lifestyle in which you are healthy, both mind, body, and spirit. We are not an individual that is just living in the silos. When we go to work, our health doesn't impact our work, or when we're at home, our work doesn't impact our home life. We are really beings with a life that is a harmony of many, many different things that go on with us. So Lifestyle Beautiful wants to partner you with the right primary care coach that helps you not only create some of the goals that are attainable, but also create the support system for you and whatever your goals may be, whether it be to improve your mental health, whether it be to increase your productivity at work, also create some micro habits that can allow you to create the behavior that you want, whether it be eating healthier, drinking more water, walking a little bit more, and taking really a holistic approach to your life. Lifestyle Beautiful is here to help you support in this process. And again, I'm super excited that we are here together and that again, you are getting to see the high caliber of support system and information that our program and our company has in store for all of you who are participating. And thank you, Nina, again, for your hard work, your dedication. And I can't wait to see all the other amazing webinars. And I invite you to keep connected with us on all of the social media platforms and make sure that you stay in touch and you sign up for our newsletter so that you can continue to go out and create your lifestyle beautiful always.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nina. Definitely, I echo Julie's sentiments as well. This was an amazing walkthrough, very practical advice that we can use in our everyday lives. So thank you so much, and all of you have a great evening.